Earth is stranger than science fiction. In this documentary, you'll discover 100+ extreme natural phenomena and gravity-defying places. What if I told you that right now, somewhere on our planet, fish are falling from a clear blue sky? That there's a place where cars roll uphill by themselves? That entire beaches glow blue when you walk on them? That there are volcanoes that burn electric blue instead of red? These aren't special effects. They're not movie magic. They're happening right now, on the same planet where you're sitting. Throughout this documentary, I'll challenge you with quiz questions that will test how well you really know our world. Some answers will surprise you. Others will completely change how you see our planet. June 2009, Ishikawa Prefecture, Japan. Thousands of tadpoles suddenly began falling from a clear sky. Not a single cloud overhead. No storm systems nearby. Just tadpoles, plummeting from nowhere. This isn't isolated. Honduras experiences an annual lluvia de peces, rain of fish every May or June. Hundreds of silverfish fall from the sky, always the same species, always alive. Locals have celebrated this impossible event for over a century. But fish are just the beginning. Australia has recorded spider rain, literally millions of baby spiders falling like snow across entire regions. In 2007, Salta province in Argentina experienced frog rain so intense that the ground was carpeted inches deep with amphibians. The explanations scientists offer sound almost as impossible as the phenomena themselves. Waterspouts and tornadoes can supposedly lift aquatic creatures miles into the air, carry them vast distances, then drop them far from any water source. But here's what doesn't make sense. Why always the same species? Why do they often fall alive? Why do some rains contain creatures that don't even exist in the local ecosystem? In 2020, during California's car fire, something unprecedented happened. A fire tornado formed that was so powerful it had its own weather system. Wind speeds exceeded 140 mph, stronger than most hurricanes, with temperatures reaching 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. But California's fire tornado wasn't unique. These spinning columns of flame have been documented in Australia, where they've reached heights of over 300 feet. In Brazil's Amazon, fire tornadoes create their own lightning, spawning new fires miles away from the original blaze. Then there's ball lightning, one of nature's most baffling phenomena. Glowing spheres of plasma that float through buildings, pass through walls, and disappear without explanation. Some witnesses describe them as orange, others as blue-white. They've been seen bouncing along the ground, hovering motionless in mid-air, even following aircraft. In 1963, a ball lightning entered a Soviet airliner through the nose, traveled through the passenger cabin, and exited through the tail, all without harming anyone or damaging the aircraft. How is this possible? Science still doesn't have a complete answer. The largest hailstone ever recorded fell in Vivian, South Dakota in 2010. It measured 8 inches in diameter and weighed nearly 2 pounds. But size isn't the strangest thing about hail. It's what's sometimes found inside. Hailstones have been found containing frogs, fish, and even small turtles, perfectly preserved in ice. How does a turtle end up inside a hailstone? The current scientific explanation involves multiple up and down journeys through storm systems, but this raises more questions than it answers. Meanwhile, in Venezuela's Lake Maracaibo region, lightning strikes the same location up to 300 times per minute, 160 nights per year. The Catatumbo lightning has been observed continuously for over 500 years. Local fishermen navigate by its glow. NASA uses it as a landmark from space. But here's what's truly strange. Sometimes the lightning just stops. For weeks or months at a time, the phenomenon disappears completely, then resumes without explanation. In 2010, it stopped for 2 months, causing local environmental groups to panic that climate change had permanently disrupted the pattern. In 2021, snow fell in the Sahara Desert for only the 4th time in 50 years. The sand dunes of Algeria were covered in white powder, creating one of the most surreal landscapes ever photographed. But the Sahara isn't the only desert where this impossible weather occurs. The Atacama Desert, the driest place on Earth, has recorded snowfall. This is a region where some weather stations have never recorded a single drop of rain, yet snow has fallen there multiple times in recent decades. Then there are the megastorms that dwarf anything in recorded history. In 1970, a cyclone in Bangladesh generated waves over 45 feet tall and winds exceeding 185 km/h. The storm surge traveled over 10 miles inland. But weather satellites have detected storm systems so large they could engulf entire continents. Which country experiences the highest frequency of lightning strikes per square kilometer per year? Here's a hint. It's not where most people think. And the reason involves both geography and atmospheric physics. Take a moment to think about it. Answer: the Democratic Republic of Congo. The combination of the Congo Basin's unique geography, consistent high temperatures, and daily convection patterns creates a perfect electrical storm factory. Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela gets attention, but the DRC experiences more strikes across a larger area. At 2 a.m. on the slopes of Kawah Ijen in Indonesia, something impossible illuminates the darkness. Electric blue flames dance across the volcanic crater, creating a light show that looks more like alien technology than anything found on Earth. This isn't lava. It's burning sulfur gas igniting at temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The blue flames can reach 16 feet high and are visible every single night. But here's what makes it truly extraordinary. The phenomenon creates its own weather patterns, its own ecosystem, and its own rules of physics. Local miners work in these conditions, harvesting sulfur in the middle of what looks like a scene from another planet. They describe the experience as walking through liquid fire that burns cold. The blue flames are actually cooler than regular fire, yet they burn continuously without any external fuel source being added. In 2018, Hawaii's Kilauea volcano created lava fountains that reached 300 feet into the air, taller than the Statue of Liberty. But height isn't the most impressive aspect of volcanic fountains. It's their precision. Some volcanoes create fountains that pulse with mathematical regularity, like geological metronomes. Stromboli in Italy has been erupting continuously for over 2,000 years, creating lava fountains every 10 to 20 minutes with Swiss watch precision. Local fishermen have used its glow for navigation for millennia. The Romans called it the lighthouse of the Mediterranean. But perhaps the most terrifying volcanic phenomenon is volcanic lightning. During major eruptions, the ash clouds generate their own electrical storms. The 2010 Eyjafjallajökull eruption in Iceland created lightning bolts that were visible from space, with electrical activity so intense it interfered with radio communications across Europe. The lightning isn't random. It follows patterns that scientists are only beginning to understand. Some volcanic lightning creates perfect spirals, others form geometric shapes. The electrical patterns seem to predict the volcano's next moves, as if the mountain is telegraphing its intentions through the sky. In 2022, the Hunga Tonga underwater volcano erupted with such force that it sent shockwaves around the globe, literally. The explosion was heard in Alaska, 6,000 miles away. It created tsunami waves that reached Japan and caused pressure waves that circled the Earth multiple times. But underwater volcanoes don't just destroy, they create. The Hunga Tonga eruption created a new island overnight. Satellite images show land where there was only ocean the day before. This isn't rare. Volcanic islands are being born constantly in the Pacific Ring of Fire. Some underwater eruptions create pillows of lava that form bizarre underwater landscapes. These lava pillows create their own ecosystems with creatures that exist nowhere else on Earth. Giant tube worms, ghostly pale crabs, and bacteria that thrive in conditions that would instantly kill any surface life. Beneath Yellowstone National Park lies a magma chamber 55 miles long, 20 miles wide, and 5 miles deep. If it erupted today, it would eject 1,000 cubic kilometers of material into the atmosphere, enough to bury the entire United States under a layer of ash. But Yellowstone isn't the only supervolcano. Lake Toba in Indonesia erupted 74,000 years ago with such violence that it nearly drove humanity to extinction. The eruption was 5,000 times more powerful than Mount St. Helens, and the ash cloud blocked sunlight for 6 years. The terrifying truth about supervolcanoes is that they're predictably unpredictable. Yellowstone erupts approximately every 600,000 years. The last eruption was 640,000 years ago. We're mathematically overdue. Scientists monitor ground deformation, gas emissions, and seismic activity, but supervolcanoes can go from dormant to explosive in weeks.
The 1815 Tambora eruption in Indonesia caused global climate change, crop failures, and famine across the northern hemisphere, and it wasn't even a true supervolcano. Which supervolcano poses the greatest immediate threat to human civilization? Most people think Yellowstone, but scientists are actually more concerned about a different volcanic system that's showing signs of awakening right now. Can you guess which one?
Step onto certain beaches in the Maldives at night, and the sand explodes in blue light beneath your feet. Each footstep creates a constellation of stars on the shore. Each wave crashes in bioluminescent foam that glows like liquid moonlight. This isn't magic. It's dinoflagellates, microscopic organisms that emit light when disturbed. But here's what science can't fully explain. Why do some beaches glow brilliantly, while identical nearby beaches remain dark? Why does the phenomenon sometimes disappear for years, then suddenly return? The bioluminescence varies in ways that defy simple biological explanations. Some nights the entire ocean glows. Other nights, only specific areas light up, creating patterns that can be seen from space. Surfers in California's La Jolla describe riding waves of pure light, their surfboards carving glowing trails through liquid stars. But the ocean's light shows extend far beyond the surface. In the deep ocean, creatures create displays that put any fireworks show to shame. Giant siphonophores, creatures longer than blue whales, pulse with coordinated light patterns. Deep-sea jellyfish create spiraling galaxies of light that can be seen by satellites. On July 9, 1958, an earthquake triggered a landslide in Lituya Bay, Alaska, creating a wave 1,720 feet tall. To put this in perspective, this wave could have washed over the Empire State Building with 470 feet to spare. But megawaves aren't limited to earthquakes. In 1995, the cruise ship Queen Elizabeth II encountered a rogue wave in the North Atlantic that was measured at 95 feet, a wall of water appearing from nowhere in moderate sea conditions. These freak waves, or rogue waves, violate everything we thought we knew about ocean physics. They appear without warning, often in calm seas, and can be twice the height of surrounding waves. Satellite data suggests that waves over 80 feet tall occur far more frequently than mathematical models predict. The Draupner wave, recorded in the North Sea in 1995, was the first rogue wave measured by scientific instruments. It was 84 feet tall and appeared during a storm where the significant wave height was only 39 feet. The wave existed for only 12 seconds, but it changed oceanography forever. The Moskstraumen, near Norway's Lofoten Islands, creates whirlpools so powerful they can be seen from space. These maelstroms form when tidal currents flowing between islands create rotating water masses up to 130 feet across. But the Moskstraumen isn't the largest whirlpool on Earth. That distinction belongs to the Old Sow, between Maine and New Brunswick, which creates vortices over 250 feet in diameter. The whirlpool is so predictable that whale-watching tours time their trips to witness this natural phenomenon. More mysterious are the ocean's blue holes, underwater sinkholes that plunge thousands of feet into the Earth. Belize's Great Blue Hole is 400 feet deep and perfectly circular. Inside, the water is so clear that stalactites formed during ice ages are still perfectly preserved. Sometimes the ocean turns blood red, and when it does, death follows. Red tides caused by toxic algae blooms can stretch for hundreds of miles, killing millions of fish and making the air itself poisonous to breathe. But red isn't the only color the ocean can turn. Algae blooms have turned waters bright green, purple, and even orange. In 2020, an algae bloom in the Sea of Azov turned the water so pink it could be seen from space. The color persisted for weeks. The most disturbing aspect of these events is their unpredictability. Toxic blooms can appear overnight in previously pristine waters. Marine life dies en masse, and the toxins become airborne, causing respiratory problems in humans miles from shore. In 2018, a red tide off Florida's coast was so severe it killed dolphins, manatees, sea turtles, and over 2,000 tons of fish. The bloom lasted 8 months and covered 145 miles of coastline. Beach communities were evacuated due to airborne toxins. Off the coast of Mauritius, satellite images show what appears to be a massive waterfall plunging into the depths of the ocean. The underwater waterfall looks like water pouring off the edge of the world. This optical illusion is created by sand and silt deposits flowing along the ocean floor, but the effect is so convincing that pilots frequently report it as an actual waterfall. The falls appear to drop over 2.5 miles into an oceanic trench. Similar illusions occur in other parts of the world, where underwater currents create the appearance of rivers flowing beneath the sea. The Denmark Strait Cataract between Greenland and Iceland is an actual underwater waterfall where cold, dense water plunges over an underwater ridge, creating a waterfall 11,500 feet tall, over 3 times taller than Angel Falls. What's the height of the tallest wave ever scientifically recorded? Before you answer, think about this. It was taller than most skyscrapers and was caused by something that had never been observed before. The answer will change how you think about the power of water. Answer: 1,720 feet in Lituya Bay, Alaska. This mega tsunami was caused by a massive landslide triggered by an earthquake. The wave stripped trees from mountainsides 1,720 feet above sea level and was so tall it could have completely submerged the Empire State Building. Put your car in neutral at the bottom of Magnetic Hill in New Brunswick, Canada, and something impossible happens. Your vehicle begins rolling uphill. Not slowly, not reluctantly, but with the same momentum as if it were rolling downhill. This isn't a single location phenomenon. Similar gravity hills exist in over 30 countries worldwide. Each one defies the fundamental law that objects fall toward the center of Earth's gravitational pull. But New Brunswick's Magnetic Hill isn't even the most extreme example. At Spook Hill in Florida, cars roll uphill at speeds exceeding 10 km/h. The phenomenon is so pronounced that the local government has built an official viewing area for tourists to witness this impossibility. The scientific explanation, that these are optical illusions where the surrounding landscape makes downhill slopes appear to be uphill, sounds reasonable until you experience it yourself. Even when you know it's an illusion, even when you use surveying equipment to measure the actual slope, your brain cannot process what you're seeing. In the redwood forests of California, there's a 150 square foot area where the laws of physics seem suspended. The mystery spot makes people lean at impossible angles without falling, causes balls to roll uphill, and makes measuring instruments give readings that contradict visual evidence. Visitors can stand on walls without any visible support. Water poured from containers flows upward. Pendulums swing in directions that violate gravitational pull. Even more disturbing, photographs taken at the mystery spot show these impossible positions clearly. It's not just a visual trick affecting human perception. Similar locations exist worldwide. The Oregon Vortex, the Wonder Spot in Wisconsin, and the Cosmos Mystery Area in South Dakota all demonstrate phenomena that challenge fundamental physics. Scientists have studied these locations for decades, offering explanations ranging from magnetic anomalies to vestibular disruption, but none fully account for all observed phenomena. What makes these locations particularly unsettling is their consistency. The same impossible effects occur in the same spots, day after day, year after year. If these were simple optical illusions, they shouldn't be reproducible with such precision. At Hoover Dam, pour water over the edge and watch it flow upward instead of down. The updraft created by the dam's design is so powerful that water literally defies gravity, flowing back toward the sky. But this isn't limited to human-made structures. In Hawaii, several waterfalls regularly flow backward during high wind conditions. The 100-foot Waipuhia Falls can completely reverse direction, with water flowing up the cliff face instead of down. Even stranger are the reverse waterfalls that occur without wind. In parts of Iceland, geothermal vents create updrafts so powerful that nearby waterfalls flow upward for hours at a time. The heated air creates vertical wind currents that overcome gravitational pull on falling water. In Poland's Crooked Forest, approximately 400 pine trees grow in identical J-shaped curves, all bending at the same 90-degree angle before straightening skyward. Every tree curves northward with mathematical precision, as if following some invisible force. Planted around 1930, these trees show no signs of human manipulation, disease, or weather damage. The surrounding forest grows normally, but these 400 trees all follow the same impossible growth pattern. Similar phenomena occur worldwide. Russia's dancing forest on the Curonian Spit features pine trees twisted into spirals, loops, and knots. Some trees form complete circles, their trunks creating natural arches. Local folklore speaks of gravitational anomalies, but science offers no complete explanation. In Romania's Hoia forest, trees grow in spirals and strange geometric patterns. The forest also features a perfectly circular clearing where nothing grows, not grass, not weeds, not even moss. Soil samples from the clearing show no chemical anomalies, yet vegetation refuses to grow there. What actually causes cars to roll uphill at locations like Magnetic Hill? The answer involves a fascinating aspect of human psychology and spatial perception that tricks even scientists who know better. Think about how your brain processes visual information about slopes and elevation. Answer? It's a powerful optical illusion where the surrounding landscape, particularly the horizon line created by hills, trees, and other features, makes a downhill slope appear to be uphill. The brain relies on visual reference points to determine slope direction. And when these references are skewed, even physical instruments seem to contradict what you're seeing. The illusion is so strong that people who understand the science still experience the impossible sensation. The aurora borealis paints the Arctic sky in colors that shouldn't exist. Greens so vivid they seem radioactive. Purples so deep they appear three-dimensional. Reds so intense they look like blood in the sky. But the northern lights aren't just beautiful. They're impossible by the standards of normal atmospheric physics. Charged particles from the sun, traveling at millions of miles per hour, somehow create precise geometric patterns, dancing curtains, and spiraling formations that follow rules no one fully understands. The aurora occurs 60 to 200 miles above Earth's surface, yet it can be seen from over 1,000 miles away. During major solar storms, the aurora has been visible as far south as Mexico and the Caribbean, regions where it should be physically impossible to occur. But perhaps strangest of all is the aurora's sound. Despite occurring in the near vacuum of space, where sound shouldn't travel, many observers report hearing crackling, hissing, or whooshing sounds that coincide perfectly with visual displays. Scientists have only recently begun to acknowledge these reports, having dismissed them for decades as imagination. During a total lunar eclipse, our satellite doesn't disappear. It turns blood red, glowing with an eerie crimson light that has terrified humans throughout history. But the red color isn't the strangest aspect of lunar eclipses. During totality, the temperature on the moon's surface drops by over 500 degrees Fahrenheit in just 90 minutes. This thermal shock causes the lunar surface to crack audibly, sounds that have been detected by seismometers left by Apollo missions. Solar eclipses create even more bizarre phenomena. During the brief moments of totality, the temperature can drop 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Flowers close as if night has fallen, and animals exhibit behavior normally seen only at dusk. Birds stop singing, crickets begin chirping, and nocturnal animals emerge in broad daylight. But perhaps most mysteriously, during total solar eclipses, some people report experiencing profound psychological effects, feelings of cosmic connection, altered states of consciousness, and spiritual experiences that scientists are only beginning to study seriously. Sometimes the sun wears a crown, a perfect circle of light surrounding our star, visible even through thin clouds. These sun halos are created by ice crystals in the upper atmosphere, acting as millions of tiny prisms. But sun halos are just one of dozens of atmospheric optical phenomena that most people never notice. Sundogs create false suns on either side of the real sun. Sun pillars create vertical columns of light, extending above and below the horizon. Circumhorizontal arcs create fire rainbows, bands of spectral color that stretch across the entire sky. The most spectacular atmospheric display occurs when multiple phenomena happen simultaneously. During perfect conditions, observers can see sun halos, sundogs, sun pillars, and multiple rainbow arcs all at the same time, creating a celestial light show that transforms the entire sky into a cosmic cathedral. Some clouds shouldn't exist according to basic meteorology. Lenticular clouds hover motionless above mountains like giant flying saucers, maintaining their shape for hours, despite wind conditions that should disperse them instantly. Morning glory clouds in Australia create roll clouds that extend for over 600 miles, waves in the sky that maintain their form while traveling at speeds up to 35 km/h. Glider pilots surf these atmospheric waves, riding invisible air currents hundreds of miles across the continent. But perhaps the most alien cloud formation is the mammatus cloud, pouches of cloud that hang downward from the sky like enormous gray bubbles. These upside-down clouds form when dense, cold air sinks through warmer air below, creating formations that look like the sky is melting. 50 miles above thunderstorms, in the edge of space itself, forms of lightning occur that weren't discovered until the 1990s. Sprites, elves, and blue jets create electrical displays that dwarf normal lightning in scale and beauty. Sprites appear as enormous jellyfish of light, extending from 30 to 60 miles above storm clouds. They last only milliseconds but can span over 200 miles horizontally, larger than most thunderstorms themselves. Blue jets shoot upward from thunderclouds like reverse lightning bolts, reaching 30 miles into the atmosphere. Unlike regular lightning, blue jets are perfectly straight and always point directly upward, as if the storm is firing electrical bullets into space. Elves, emissions of light and very low frequency perturbations due to electromagnetic pulse sources, create expanding rings of light in the ionosphere that can span 200 miles in diameter. They're triggered by powerful lightning strikes below, but occur in the same altitude where the International Space Station orbits. How does the temperature of a lightning bolt compare to the surface of the sun? This might be the most surprising answer in this entire documentary, and it reveals something incredible about the electrical power of Earth's atmosphere. Lightning bolts reach temperatures of approximately 30,000 degrees, 54,000 degrees, about 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun, which is around 5,500 degrees, 10,000 degrees safe. This makes lightning one of the hottest natural phenomena on Earth, hotter than the surface of any star in our immediate cosmic neighborhood. On July 10, 1913, Death Valley recorded the highest air temperature in human history, 134 degrees, 56.7 degrees Celsius. But air temperature tells only part of the story. Ground temperatures in Death Valley regularly exceed 200 degrees Celsius, hot enough to cause second-degree burns in seconds. But Death Valley's heat creates phenomena that seem to bend physics. Superheated air creates mirages so convincing that they appear in photographs. The heat distorts light so dramatically that mountains appear to float above the ground and lakes appear where only salt flats exist. During summer months, Death Valley experiences heat bursts, sudden temperature spikes that can increase air temperature by 20 degrees in minutes. These aren't caused by additional sunlight, but by atmospheric compression that literally squeezes heat out of the air itself. The extreme heat also creates its own weather systems. Dust devils in Death Valley can reach over 3,000 feet tall and sustain winds exceeding 70 mph. These aren't typical dust devils. They are atmospheric columns powered by thermal energy so intense they create their own electrical fields. At the opposite extreme, Antarctica's plateau region regularly experiences temperatures below 144 degrees, 98 degrees, so cold that the air itself begins to crystallize and fall like snow. But extreme cold creates phenomena as bizarre as extreme heat. In Antarctica, boiling water thrown into the air instantly transforms into snow before hitting the ground. The temperature differential is so extreme that hot and cold behave according to different rules of physics. Katabatic winds in Antarctica reach speeds over 200 mph, stronger than most hurricanes, despite occurring in the coldest place on Earth. These gravity-driven winds are so powerful they've been measured moving boulders weighing several tons. Perhaps most mysteriously, Antarctica experiences ice quakes, sudden fracturing of ice sheets that release energy equivalent to major earthquakes. These ice quakes can be heard over 100 miles away and create seismic waves that circle the globe. Bolivia's Salar de Uyuni becomes the world's largest mirror during rainy season, creating perfect reflections that extend to the horizon in every direction. The effect is so convincing that visitors experience vertigo, unable to distinguish between sky and ground. But Salar de Uyuni's mirror effect isn't simply aesthetic. It's used by NASA to calibrate satellites. The reflection is so mathematically perfect that it serves as a reference point for space-based instruments measuring Earth's surface. The salt flat also creates its own weather phenomena. The massive mirror effect generates thermals so powerful they create localized weather systems. Clouds form directly above the salt flat, following patterns that mirror the geometric shapes of the salt polygons below. During dry season, the salt forms perfectly hexagonal patterns that extend for thousands of square miles. These natural geometric formations are so precise they look artificial, created by crystallization processes that follow mathematical rules science is still trying to fully understand. In Turkmenistan's Karakum Desert, a 230-foot wide crater has been burning continuously since 1971. The door to hell glows orange day and night, visible from space, and shows no signs of ever burning out. But the door to hell isn't unique. Similar gas craters burn in Azerbaijan, where the fire mountain has been burning for over 4,000 years. Ancient Persian fire worshippers considered these eternal flames to be sacred, building temples around naturally occurring gas fires. What makes these eternal flames scientifically fascinating is their consistency. Despite fluctuations in underground gas pressure, temperature variations, and weather conditions, the flames maintain steady intensity. The door to hell burns at approximately 1,000 degrees Celsius day and night, year after year. For decades, Death Valley's sailing stones baffled scientists completely. Rocks weighing hundreds of pounds would mysteriously move across the desert floor, leaving perfectly straight trails behind them, with no evidence of what caused the movement. The mystery persisted until 2014, when researchers finally witnessed the phenomenon. It requires perfect conditions, rare rainfall creating a shallow lake, overnight freezing that creates thin sheets of ice, and morning sun that breaks the ice into floating panels. Light winds push these ice sheets, which collectively move the rocks. But sailing stones occur in other locations, where this explanation doesn't work. Similar rock movements have been documented in dry lake beds that never experience freezing temperatures, suggesting multiple mechanisms for this impossible phenomenon. Even more mysteriously, some sailing stones move in curves, spirals, and even complete loops, patterns that no known natural force should be able to create. These complex paths suggest intelligence or intention, though no scientific explanation accounts for such precise navigation. For 2 weeks each February, Yosemite's Horsetail Fall becomes a fire fall, a cascade of water that appears to be liquid lava pouring off El Capitan's cliff face. This optical illusion requires perfect conditions, sufficient water flow, clear western sky, and precise sun angle. When all conditions align, the setting sun illuminates the waterfall at exactly the right angle to create the lava effect. But Yosemite's firefall isn't the only light phenomenon that transforms landscapes. In certain desert locations, sunset light creates alpenglow effects so intense that entire mountain ranges appear to glow from within, as if lit by internal fire. What's the highest officially recorded air temperature on Earth? Remember, this is air temperature, not ground temperature, and it was recorded in a location that experiences temperature extremes that would be lethal to most life forms. 134 degree, 56.7 degree, recorded in Death Valley, California on July 10, 1913. This temperature is approaching the upper limits of human survival, even with unlimited water and shade. Ground temperatures in Death Valley can exceed 200 degrees Celsius, which would cause instant burns to exposed skin. In Antarctica's McMurdo Dry Valleys, a 5-story waterfall bleeds red against the white ice. Blood Falls oozes iron-rich water that looks exactly like blood flowing from Taylor Glacier. But the red color isn't the strangest aspect of Blood Falls. Scientists have discovered that this blood contains microorganisms that have been sealed beneath the ice for over 2 million years. Life forms that survive without sunlight, without oxygen feeding on iron and sulfur, in conditions that should be completely hostile to life. These ancient bacteria have evolved in complete isolation, developing biological processes unknown in surface life. They represent a form of life so alien that NASA studies them as analogs for potential life on Mars and other planets. The bacteria in Blood Falls metabolize in ways that violate basic biological principles. They process iron through chemical pathways that shouldn't exist, creating energy from reactions that normal life finds toxic. They're literally living fossils from Earth's ancient past. Deep in forests around the world, certain mushrooms glow with an eerie green light. This foxfire, as it's called, has been documented for centuries, but is still not fully understood by science. During World War II, soldiers in Pacific theaters used foxfire mushrooms to read maps without revealing their positions to enemy forces. The biological light was bright enough for reading but invisible to anyone more than a few feet away. But foxfire isn't random. The glowing fungi appear in specific patterns, often forming circles or lines through the forest. Some researchers suggest the light serves communication purposes between fungal networks, creating a biological internet beneath the forest floor. The glow intensifies during certain lunar phases and weather conditions, suggesting these fungi respond to environmental factors we don't yet understand. In some forests, the foxfire appears to pulse in synchronized patterns, as if the entire forest floor is breathing light. In certain wind conditions, entire forests create musical tones, not random noise, but actual harmonic frequencies that can be heard for miles. The phenomenon occurs when wind passes through trees at specific angles, creating resonance chambers that transform the forest into a massive musical instrument. But singing forests produce more than simple tones. Recordings reveal complex harmonic structures, chord progressions, and even what sound like melodies. Some acoustic researchers believe these natural symphonies follow mathematical patterns found in human music composition. The most disturbing aspect of singing forests is their effect on human psychology. People who spend extended time in these areas report feeling drawn to specific locations, experiencing vivid dreams, and sometimes hearing voices or conversations in the forest songs. Local folklore from around the world speaks of forests that call to travelers, luring them deeper into the woods. Modern acoustic research suggests there may be scientific basis for these stories. Certain frequencies can affect human brain activity and decision-making processes. In Taos, New Mexico, approximately 2% of the population reports hearing a persistent low-frequency sound that has no identifiable source. The Taos hum, as it's known, drives some people to desperation, while others find it merely annoying. But Taos isn't unique. Similar unexplained sounds have been reported in dozens of locations worldwide. Bristol, England experiences the Bristol hum. Windsor, Ontario reports the Windsor hum. Each location's sound has slightly different characteristics, but all share the mystery of having no discoverable source. What makes these phenomena particularly disturbing is their selectivity. In any affected area, most people hear nothing, while others are tormented by constant noise. Age, gender, and hearing ability don't predict who will be affected. Scientific investigations have ruled out industrial sources, electrical equipment, and psychological causes. The sounds are real, measurable, and persistent, yet their source remains completely unknown. The Atacama Desert, the driest place on Earth, occasionally transforms into one of the most spectacular flower displays on the planet. After rare rainfall, millions of seeds that have waited years for water suddenly bloom all at once. But the Atacama's flower carpet isn't just beautiful, it's scientifically impossible by normal botanical standards. Seeds remain viable in the desert for decades without any moisture, then germinate and bloom within days of receiving water. The blooms don't occur randomly. Desert flowers create precise geometric patterns, spirals, lines, and circles that can only be fully appreciated from aerial views. These patterns suggest underlying organizational principles that science doesn't yet understand. Some desert blooms produce flowers that exist nowhere else on Earth, species that appear only during these rare events, then disappear completely until the next blooming cycle years later. These ghost species challenge everything we know about plant evolution and survival. Beyond the famous glowing beaches, bioluminescence occurs in ways that seem to violate biological principles. Some deep ocean creatures create light displays visible from space, coordinating their illumination across thousands of miles of ocean. The Atolla jellyfish creates a burglar alarm display when threatened, a spinning circle of light that can attract predators to whatever is attacking it. This represents a level of strategic thinking not typically associated with simple organisms. But perhaps most mysterious are the bioluminescent displays that occur on land. Certain caves contain bacteria that create starry night effects on cave ceilings, complete with shooting stars caused by water droplets carrying glowing bacteria. In New Zealand's Waitomo caves, glowworms create displays so convincing that visitors believe they're looking at actual constellations. The larvae use their light to hunt, creating sticky threads that trap insects attracted to the glow. Which desert, despite being the driest place on Earth, occasionally becomes a spectacular carpet of flowers? Think about extreme contrasts and the incredible adaptability of life in impossible conditions. Answer: the Atacama Desert in Chile. Despite receiving less rainfall than Antarctica in some areas, the Atacama transforms into a stunning wildflower display called Desierto Florido when rare rainfall occurs. Seeds can remain dormant in the desert soil for decades, then germinate and bloom within days of receiving moisture. High in the Colorado Rockies, at the National Institute of Standards and Technology, atomic clocks run measurably faster than identical clocks at sea level. This isn't a malfunction. It's Einstein's theory of relativity in action. Time literally moves faster at higher altitudes due to weaker gravitational fields. But this isn't just academic physics. GPS satellites must account for time dilation, or they would accumulate errors of over 6 miles per day. The clocks on GPS satellites gain 38 microseconds daily compared to Earth-based clocks, a tiny difference that would make navigation impossible without constant correction. Even more bizarre are the locations where magnetic fields create temporal anomalies. In certain caves in Romania, electronic devices malfunction in ways that suggest localized time distortion. Digital clocks run at different speeds depending on their exact position within the cave system. Researchers have documented areas where radioactive decay, one of the most constant processes in physics, appears to fluctuate in ways that shouldn't be possible. These temporal anomalies occur near massive mineral deposits and underground water systems, suggesting unknown interactions between matter and space-time. The Bermuda Triangle gets all the attention, but Earth is riddled with magnetic anomalies that make navigation instruments behave impossibly. In the Oregon vortex, compasses spin wildly, pointing in directions that change by the second. But Oregon isn't unique. The Kursk magnetic anomaly in Russia is so powerful it was discovered from space. Satellite instruments detected it before ground surveys. The magnetic field in this region is over 10 times stronger than normal, strong enough to lift iron objects off the ground. In Brazil's Magnetic Hill, the anomaly is so precise that it affects only a small section of roadway. Cars experience magnetic pull so strong they can coast uphill at 20 mph. Metal objects thrown in the air are deflected mid-flight, following curved paths that violate ballistic physics. These aren't simple magnetic deposits. The anomalies show patterns, boundaries, and behaviors that suggest organized magnetic fields operating according to unknown principles. Some researchers theorize these represent natural magnetic levitation systems that could revolutionize transportation technology. In certain underground locations, gravity behaves according to different rules. The Mystery Hole in West Virginia creates localized gravity fields so distorted that water flows in spirals, flames bend at impossible angles, and people can stand on walls without support systems. But perhaps most disturbing are the locations where gravity appears to be stronger or weaker than it should be. In parts of the Canadian wilderness, surveying equipment detects gravitational anomalies that suggest massive underground voids or extremely dense materials that don't appear on geological surveys. These gravity anomalies create effects that seem to violate conservation of energy. Pendulums swing longer in some locations, shorter in others. Falling objects accelerate at rates that differ from the standard 9.8 meters per second squared. Some locations seem to have their own gravitational constants. The most extreme example is Montana's Gravity Hill, where the anomaly is so strong that large boulders appear to roll uphill against 15-degree slopes. Geological surveys find no underground formations that could account for such powerful gravitational distortion. What causes atomic clocks to run faster at higher altitudes? This phenomenon proves one of Einstein's most mind-bending theories and affects technology you use every day. Think about the relationship between gravity and time. Answer: time dilation due to gravitational effects. Einstein's theory of relativity predicts that time moves faster in weaker gravitational fields. At higher altitudes, gravity is slightly weaker, so time moves faster. This effect is so precise that GPS satellites must constantly correct for it, or navigation would become inaccurate by miles within hours. Recent scientific discoveries suggest that forests operate as single organisms, with underground fungal networks connecting trees across hundreds of miles. These wood-wide webs share nutrients, water, and even warning signals about insect attacks or disease. But the network does more than share resources. It appears to make collective decisions. When one area of forest is stressed, distant trees begin producing defensive chemicals before any threat reaches them. The forest seems to think and plan ahead in ways that challenge our understanding of plant intelligence. In the Amazon, researchers have documented synchronized behavior across thousands of square miles. Trees release pheromones in coordinated waves, creating chemical signals that can be detected by satellites. The timing suggests the forest operates according to its own circadian rhythms, independent of individual trees. Even more mysteriously, some forests show signs of memory. Trees that survive forest fires pass genetic information to their offspring that helps them survive similar fires decades later. The forest remembers disasters and adapts its collective behavior based on historical events. The Himalayas are growing taller by 4 millimeters per year as the Indian continent continues pushing into Asia. But some mountains move much faster and in ways that defy geological explanation. In Romania's Carpathian Mountains, several peaks change shape dramatically within human lifetimes. Local villages have detailed records showing mountains that were pyramidal becoming rounded, or rounded peaks developing sharp spires, all within 50-100-year periods. But perhaps most bizarre are the walking mountains of Death Valley. Geological surveys show that some of the region's smaller peaks have moved several hundred feet from their positions in early 20th century maps. These aren't landslides or erosion. The entire mountain structures appear to have shifted position. Satellite monitoring has confirmed that certain mountain ranges experience breathing motions, expanding and contracting on seasonal cycles that can't be explained by temperature changes alone. The mountains pulse like living organisms, rising and falling by inches over the course of each year. Beneath Earth's surface lies more water than in all the surface oceans combined. But this isn't simple groundwater. It's vast underground ocean systems with their own currents, tides, and ecosystems. The ringwoodite layer, 400 miles beneath Earth's surface, contains water trapped in crystal structures under pressures that create forms of H2O that don't exist anywhere else in the solar system. This water behaves more like liquid metal than normal water, with properties that could revolutionize materials science. But even more mysterious are the underground rivers that follow no logical pattern. Some flow uphill, others flow in perfect circles, and a few appear to change direction seasonally without any external cause. Cave divers have discovered underground waterways that seem to violate fluid dynamics. In Mexico's cenotes, underwater cave systems extend for hundreds of miles, creating submerged rivers with their own weather patterns. These underground water systems have distinct layers, currents that flow in opposite directions at different depths, and temperatures that vary in ways that suggest internal heat sources. How much water exists in Earth's underground layers compared to all surface oceans? The answer reveals a hidden world beneath our feet that's larger than anything visible on the surface. Answer: scientists estimate there's 2 to 3 times more water stored in Earth's interior, trapped in crystal structures within rocks, than exists in all the surface oceans combined. This water is held in minerals like ringwoodite in the mantle transition zone, creating vast underground reservoirs that dwarf our visible water systems. We've journeyed through landscapes that shouldn't exist, witnessed phenomena that violate the laws of physics, and discovered that our planet holds secrets more incredible than any science fiction. Fish falling from clear skies, volcanoes that burn blue instead of red, oceans that glow like liquid starlight, cars that roll uphill by themselves, lightning that's 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun, waves taller than skyscrapers, deserts that mirror the sky, stones that sail across the desert floor leaving trails like breadcrumbs. Every single phenomenon we've explored today was once dismissed as impossible. Every mystery was once folklore. Every scientific explanation was once heresy. But here's the question that should keep you awake at night. If our own planet, the world we've studied for centuries, mapped from space, explored with the most advanced technology ever created, still holds secrets this profound, what does that tell us about the universe beyond? We live on a planet where rocks move by themselves, where gravity seems to forget its own rules, where the sky rains animals and the ocean turns to blood. We inhabit a world where ancient bacteria live in conditions that should be impossible, where forests sing in harmonies, where deserts bloom in patterns that look designed by intelligence. How many quiz questions did you answer correctly? More importantly, how many of these phenomena did you know existed before watching this documentary? The truth is, we're not just living on a planet, we're living on a mystery. Every day, somewhere on Earth, something impossible is happening. Something that challenges what we think we know about physics, biology, chemistry, and the fundamental nature of reality itself. And if impossible things are this common on our own planet, what impossibilities are waiting for us in the cosmos? What phenomena exist on other worlds that would make our sailing stones and blood waterfalls seem mundane by comparison? The biggest revelation isn't that these phenomena exist, it's that we're still discovering them. New impossible things are documented every year. New violations of natural law are recorded every month. New mysteries are born every day. So the next time someone tells you something is impossible, remember the fish falling from clear skies. Remember the stones that sail across deserts. Remember the volcanoes that burn blue and the oceans that glow like stars. Remember that on planet Earth, impossible is just another word for not yet understood. How many other impossibilities are we living alongside right now, waiting for someone curious enough to notice them? The question isn't whether impossible things exist. The question is, what impossible things will we discover next?